Hi everyone, welcome to the City Regional Sustainable Transport Settlement A45 Coventry Road online consultation briefing session. I'm Alex Kernan, I'm the project manager for the project for Birmingham City Council. So the agenda today, I've got my colleague Dan, who is from Pell Frishman, who have produced the drawings that I will be talking through today. I'm also with my colleagues Jill and Sophie, who will be available to read the chat and raise any questions that you have popped in the chat today. So do feel free to pop those questions in the chat and we'll do our best to answer those today. I will be going through the proposals and the drawings and setting the context for those proposals. And at the very end, we'll go through how you can submit your comments online for the project and go through any questions that you may have. So the project objectives align with the Birmingham Transport Plan, which is why we're looking to introduce a cycle route along the Coventry Road. So the key principles of the transport plan is prioritising active travel in local neighbourhoods for walking, cycling and active travel. We would like active travel to become the first choice for most people making short journeys into their local areas. We also want to reduce dependency on the private car usage and increase active travel and create a modal shift by providing that additional infrastructure. We also want to reduce the number of personal injury collisions along the section of the A45 corridor and contribute to the decarbonisation and improvement of the environment locally through the betterment of air quality. So this is the project overview. So this is the route that I'll be talking about today. So just to set the context of this proposal, what we're planning to do is provide a link from the recently introduced A45 corridor, which runs along Bolton Road, Byron Road, and up towards Waverley Road. So our connection will be via Old Know Road, along the Coventry Road, across Haybarns Road and Haybarns Circus, crossing the junction here. This will also provide links to the park, which is already designated as a cycling route, and also will provide a link along Coventry Road into all these local areas and eventually ending at the Swan roundabout. So in terms of the proposal, we're looking at an on-carriageway route, which I'll share with you on Old Know Road. A little bit of shared use on the corner to enable cyclists to enter the segregated cycle route on Coventry Road, which will be in bi-directional, which is two-way. That will run all the way along Coventry Road until we get to Holder Road and Forest Road, which will be a cyclops junction, which enables cyclists to manoeuvre around the entire junction in a cycling phase, and the cyclists will then be able to split off into a with flow segregated route on both sides of Coventry Road so that they can access things like the Swan Centre and Iceland. So just going to come out of this and show you the detailed drawings. So the project is currently at concept design stage. So we have got time to make changes, etc., from feedback received as part of this consultation. So we will be taking on board your comments, having a look through. So any comments that you have today we'll include in the report that we'll produce at the end, and any tweaks and amendments we can make, we will be making them as we go along, as we get to the next stage of design. So I'll start here on Old Know Road. So as mentioned previously, this is a connection onto the existing Active Travel 2 route, which we delivered in October last year. We've got on carriageway cycle symbols for this route, as it's a quiet residential area. And we felt that on carriageway route would be the best option through here. So it won't be a segregated facility. It will be cycle symbols on the ground. The route is 20 mile per hour. When we get to the top of Old Know Road junction to Coventry Road, we will have a cycling ramp just outside the school here, which will enable cyclists to join the footway here so that they can access the segregated cycle route along Coventry Road. So it's just a very short section of shared use. What we'll be doing is we'll be widening out the existing footway here in line with the Keep Clear school markings. So again, it's not a lost parking here. So we've tried to keep that to a minimum throughout the scheme, but it's just a little section of shared use here. There will be a ramp as well on the other side for cyclists to access some existing shared use on the opposite side, should their destination be in the opposing direction to the segregated cycle facility that we're providing here. So the segregated route, as I say, is two-way, so bi-directional in two directions here. What we will have to do is there will be some parking loss through this section. We have kept it to an absolute minimum where possible, but we also do need to maintain the thoroughfare for vehicular traffic as well in both directions. So in this instance, we have had to take away some parking. So we are currently at this line here. So just talking through the rest of the route. So it's a segregated cycle route. We are planning to upgrade an existing crossing to a toucan crossing, which means that both cyclists and pedestrians can use that crossing point here. So again, there's a short section of shared space where pedestrians and cyclists use the same section. We've then got the continuation of a bidirectional route and two-way route along Coventry Road. We send cyclists across Talbot Way and all the way along to, this is the junction for the Asda shop on Coventry Road. So again, we'll be providing some junction improvements here for pedestrians and cycling. So there will be a parallel crossing for cyclists, and we'll also be upgrading the crossing here and timings as well. Additionally, we'll also be upgrading this crossing point here as well to a toucan. This just enables cyclists and pedestrians to get to wherever their destination is, whether it be on the northern side of the road or the southern side. The route then continues along Coventry Road. We're now near Haybarns Road. So again, short section of shared use here. An upgrade to the existing crossing. We're looking at a toucan at this moment in time. However, we are undertaking some traffic surveys here to understand the nature of this junction at the moment. So there is a chance that this proposal may change slightly, but we're still trying to provide that connectivity for cyclists so that they can access the segregated cycle route on the other side of the road. So there will be a crossing across Haybarns Road, which will be, again, shared space. Cyclists will then join onto the two-way cycle route just at the top of Haybarns Circus here. So there will be a little bit of widening out into the carriageway, but the lanes are maintained throughout this section. So we're just taking away a little bit of space here. We upgrade the crossing across Coventry Road near Haybarns Circus here, so that cyclists have also got a parallel crossing in both directions. So again, completely separate from the pedestrians here. We have another section of shared use, just a short section due to space constraints here. Cyclists will then rejoin a fully segregated route, which I'll just pull up the next plan. So that's where we were. So Haybarns Road is back here, and Haybarn Circus. So we're running along the Coventry Road now here. So again, we've got the two-way cycle track, which is completely segregated from vehicular traffic and pedestrians. We've got a junction upgrade on King's Road, so that's a full signal upgrade here for walking and cycling. At the moment, some of the crossings here are uncontrolled, so again, those will be signalised, providing a betterment for not only cycling but walking also. The route continues along Coventry Road. You have actually got cycling access as well to the shops along this route, as well as pedestrian access here, and also into any of the local neighbourhoods like Shipways Road, etc. But the main route continues on along Coventry Road. Again, we upgrade the crossing here so that there's a parallel phase for cyclists, and part of the pedestrian arm also gets upgraded too. This also provides connections into Berkeley Road and Deakins Road. We then continue the route along Coventry Road in a two-way cycle route across Ada Road. So that's the end of the drawing here, so I'll just jump on to the next one. So that was Ada Road back here. So again, there is a crossing upgrade to enable cyclists and pedestrians to also access Gladys Road, Flora Road and Geraldine Road, and then continuation of the two-way cycleway. There's another existing crossing upgrade as well, which provides another parallel crossing for cyclists. And the route continues. There is a short section of shared use just here where the crossing point is, again, due to space, but it is a very short section. We then continue with the two-way cycleway, which is completely segregated again, until we get to Holder Road, Forest Road. So this is the Cyclops junction I was briefly speaking about earlier. So this provides a full junction upgrade for walking and cycling and general traffic. These signals are fairly old now, so we're looking to upgrade the full junction here. So all of the arms will be controlled for pedestrians and cyclists. There will be a cycling phase to enable cyclists to have priority across this junction to get to their destination, whether that be the park, the Swan Centre, or travelling to their home or their destination. So the cycle lanes at this particular point split off into with flow cycle lanes, so with the direction of traffic. So there will be a cycle lane on each side of the road. So obviously there's premises across here. So again, as I say, it will just be cyclists travelling in one direction with the flow of traffic along here. That route continues all the way up to the Swan Island with flow, and that enables cyclists to connect onto an existing section of shared use into a Toucan crossing, which links into the Swan Centre. Likewise, if anybody's done shopping at Iceland or coming from their home, they're also able to connect onto this cycle lane on the opposite side and head into the bidirectional cycle route, which is fully segregated. So that is the end of the proposal. So the last thing I wanted to touch on is obviously there is an opportunity to feedback on these proposals. So we have got a web page, which is the birminghambeheard.org webpage, which was provided on the leaflets, which we dropped to all the local residents in the area. But it's open to everybody. And if you scroll down to the very bottom of the web page, there is an online survey which you can click on, which then takes you to some questions. And as you go through these questions, you'll be able to provide comments on the proposals and your thoughts and feedback. That then comes back directly to our team, and we'll be able to analyse that data and look at the feedback and make any amendments as required. So we'll now be taking any of the questions. Sophie, are you able to read some of the questions out if there are any? Please.
Yeah, so I'll just start from the bottom.
Thank you.
So the first one was, why are you suggesting going on carriageway when you don't have traffic counts, as the A38 project has done traffic counts to justify decisions? Furthermore, we know that schools still attract a lot of parents driving their children, so this road will be busy at a time when it should be used the most.
Yep. So we are currently assessing all the feedback. So we have commissioned traffic counts. We're looking at the data and proposing the best way forward along this route. Dan, I'm not sure if you've got anything further to add from a design perspective, but it's something that we're looking into, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, Alex.
We are aware that there's a number of schools on this road. Obviously, at peak times, it can be busier. But again, with the cycle infrastructure being proposed, there is another alternative option now of cycling. So again, it may be a modal shift as well that needs to be factored in here. The road is 20 mile per hour as well, and it's residential. So, but we will be looking at that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next one says, has any thought been given to squaring off junctions as part of this work to slow down vehicles turning in and out of junctions?
Dan, I might pass that one to you.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Yeah, so as part of the cycle proposal, what we are considering and sort of designing for is what we sort of call side road entry treatments, whereby sort of the crossing points where pedestrians and cyclists will be crossing the carriageway would actually be at the same level as the adjacent footways. So that therefore creates a ramp which should slow those vehicle speeds down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next one, is there not a good case for Talbot Way to only be accessible from the A45? Putting a modal filter at the Coventry Road end would make the cycle lane crossing significantly safer.
Dan, is that one that you've looked into, or?
We hadn't considered a modal filter. I think one thing we're cognizant of is how vehicles use the route to sort of perhaps through turning movements and things like that. Is just making sure that we're not impairing those vehicles, because anecdotally quite a lot of larger vehicles are using Talbot Way. So we need to do a bit more work and assess how these vehicles use it and what their routing is before sort of commit to any modal filters.
Yeah, we probably want to have a look at the data, but thank you for your comment. Yeah, we'll have a look. So next one.
As a general principle, why should there be more than 2 lanes for traffic on the A45? The extra width 2 lanes add to the carriageway make the pedestrian experience significantly worse. At Haybarn Circus, given that Coventry Road is a single carriageway, would it not be better to turn the lane on the roundabout nearest to the proposed cycle lane into a bus lane, and then extend that bus lane to join up with the section halfway towards Shipway Road?
Have a look at that. I think what we've tried to do is sort of have a happy medium for, you know, pedestrians, cyclists, and vehicular traffic. Obviously, there is the sprint bus lane that's been recently introduced, so obviously we wouldn't want to impact on that element that's just been delivered. I'm just having a look at your comments. So at Haybarn Circus, given that the road is a single carriageway. So it's this section here. Dan, have you got any comments on that one?
I think similarly through there, we're just cognizant of the recent sprint work that's gone in and trying to limit the impact that our scheme will have on that Haybarn Circus junction, and thereby the sprint upgrades that have gone in through the roundabout, through that sort of the middle of the roundabout.
Yeah. And extend the bus lane up to the section towards Shipway Road. This section. I think there was a gap left there for a reason, so that vehicles could turn into that road. Is that what we're saying here? And extend the bus lane to join up with the section halfway towards Shipway Road. I think it would be difficult to do that because of that left turn into here.
I think my understanding of that question is could we put a bus lane in from sort of Haybarns Road, and then that bus lane
I
connects to that
see.
bus lane that has gone in as part of Sprint.
Right, okay. I think it might be a bit challenging there because of the vehicular traffic that use this roundabout, sort of merging it in. But Dan, is that something you've assessed or?
It's something we considered at the onset of the project when we were considering how to route cyclists, like i.e. would it be bi-directional on the south side or would you do something on the northern side? But I think the view was that it's gone in as sort of as that sprint proposal, and thereby they've obviously undertaken their own assessments and determined that to be the most suitable location to start a bus lane. I think going back to your point
Yeah.
before, Alex, about traffic merging on the exit to the roundabout, I think that result in the safest spot.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, next one.
Have you considered closing all of the central reservations on this section of the A45? Given that it is only a mile between the roundabouts at Haybarn Circus and Swan Island, this would not significantly increase journey times. Given that it would reduce the time traffic lights at the existing junctions would need to be red for the A45, there's a good chance that it could actually increase the flow of traffic on the A45. And we know that there is severe problems with drivers making illegal U-turns at this junction.
So, in terms of closing it off, I don't think we would want to try and maintain the accesses to these roads off the Coventry Highway, just for congestion purposes up to Haybarns Road, Haybarn Circus. I think it possibly may impact traffic. Obviously the proposal is to sort of encourage walking and cycling. Dan, have you explored that option?
I
I'm
think that
not
would be an
quite.
option that we'd have to take away and sort of review the data for, because
Yeah.
whether it's a happy medium between perhaps not doing all of them, but some, just aware that if you do all of them, it's by some probably quite a lot more traffic you're forcing then onto Haybarn Circus and Swan Island to perform the U-turn manoeuvre to get to their ultimate destinations.
However, I do understand the point being made about obviously illegal U-turns, etc. So we can have a look at that, tightening up junctions, etc., to stop that from happening. Obviously, we are upgrading these signal junctions as well, so hopefully that should be providing an improvement for walking and cycling at those particular points as well.
Thank you. Next question. On the Berkeley Road junction, why not close the central reservation? Again, there's mention of drivers performing U-turns here and endangering pedestrians.
So that'll be this section here.
I think here would be a similar point to what we mentioned before. Perhaps it's just a decision led by data. Obviously, there's that serious or fatality. Yeah, I think it's a decision that would require to be led by data, and if we can't close it, perhaps review ways to make it more onerous so that vehicles can't as easily or readily perform that illegal manoeuvre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we can take that away and have a look at that, can't we? Okay, next one.
So this is regarding the Forest Road, Holder Road junction. Rather than spending money creating a Cyclops junction, why not close the central reservation? You're aware that. So it says, are you aware that Councillor Iqbal has shown interest in a proposal to remove through traffic from Holder Road, which would significantly reduce the amount of traffic wanting to turn into it? Additionally, a modal filter could be put at the Waterloo end of Forest Road, removing a popular rat run. This means there'd be no need for red light phases to allow traffic to turn right in both directions, and flow can be increased on the A45. Also, there would be no need for a right turn lane on the city-bound carriageway, as that side would be wide enough to have a left turn lane into Forest Road and a bus lane.
It's not an option we've explored to my knowledge, unless Dan, if you correct me if I'm wrong. I think
No, I
we've
think you're right there. I think there's a few things to unpack. I think firstly, talking about sort of the right turns. I think from our site visit that we undertook as a project team, the right turn heading out of city between Coventry Road and Forest Road seems to be quite well used. So by banning or sort of blocking up that central gap, that then would put a lot more traffic ahead through just one island and therefore U-turning. I think from what I remember in the opposing direction, it didn't seem to be as heavy. So perhaps that is one option to consider and take away on the modal filter.
yeah, maybe that's one we take away and have a look at. So thank you for your comments on that one.
Okay, thank you. Someone wants to raise a concern about parking on Old No Road. It's already extremely limited. Cars are having to double park because there aren't enough spaces, and residents usually get fined as a result. So, how will the proposed cycle route address or mitigate this issue, especially if we're losing more parking spaces?
So we are not taking away any parking spaces on Old No Road. The proposal is just on carriageway cycle symbols. There is a short section of shared use, but that is in front of the school keep clear road markings. So there wouldn't be any additional pressure on the parking here. We aren't planning to take it away from Old No Road itself. There is a little bit of loss of parking on Coventry Road, on the main high street, but not on Old No Road itself. In terms of the parking facilities, it's all on street, so there's it wouldn't be something that would be picked up as part of this proposal necessarily. But we're not sort of planning to take any parking away as part of this proposal. So hopefully that provides some comfort.
Okay, thank you. We have a question. Why the change from a bi-directional lane to two unidirectional lanes after Forest Road? Given the width of the carriageway, there's a good argument that there should be bi-directional lanes on both sides of the road anyway.
So in terms of the with flow cycleway, we planned to sort of split it off at this junction, as we thought that it was a good opportunity for cyclists that were coming out of city to join key areas like the park, etc. Um, and then sort of allowing cyclists to join from the opposite side of the road as well. So if they've sort of come from Iceland, or from the bus lanes that are existing on Swan Island, they would be able to use a new crossing on the southern section of the Swan Island here, to join onto the bi-directional route. So just providing that extra bit of connectivity. The reason why we haven't proposed bi-directional on both sides was a space constraint. We are down to 2 lanes in both directions on this section. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
But I
that's right
think
there,
we're a
Alex.
bit tight on space, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah, we are.
So that was the reason.
Thank you. Could the city-bound slip road not be reduced to a single lane for its entirety, freeing up space for a full bi-directional cycle lane on it?
Dan, I'll pass that one to you if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm struggling to understand the context as to where we're referring to on this one. Sorry.
And we could come back to it if they pop it in the chat. Um, the next question, I really want to stress that the current parking situation on Old No Road is already unmanageable, which I think we've looked at before. I don't think it's fair to move forward with this plan until a proper solution for resident parking is put in place.
Um, so with this particular route, we're not actually taking any parking spaces. It's just literally cycle symbols on the carriageway, so it'd just be white paint, sort of with the bike shape. Um, so it is just a small section of shared use at the very top of the junction, which is sort of like a parking free zone with the school keep clear. Anyway. So we're not intending to remove any parking here at all.
Okay, thank you. Somebody is just asking again about Old No Road. Are you saying that no cycle lane will be implemented? It will only be cycle symbols. Please confirm.
Yes, that's correct. It will be cycle symbols and then just a small bit of shared space where the school keep clear markings are, and they're existing. So it'd just be a little bit of widening on the footway here where the school keep clears are.
We've had a comment saying that the proposals sound quite bitty with all of the changing between shared paths and separated lanes. And I hope it will be straightforward to navigate visually.
Yeah, I think from a design point of view, we're sort of following the sort of guidance out in terms of tactile paving, and then also the sort of road mark or painted markings that will hopefully aid people in how they navigate the space, and should make it quite clear that cyclists are on one section, whilst pedestrians have right on the other section. The areas where we have shared use, they're typically found around during space constraints, so perhaps around pedestrian crossings, or perhaps bus stops as 2 examples. And here is just due to limited space throughout. So again, we'll endeavour to sort of sign and put visual aids in to help people navigate where there isn't segregation between the two modes.
Thank you. We've had a comment about funding. So could money not be going into schemes such as, the overflow of bins on streets, etc.?
So this funding for this particular project is funded from the Department of Transport specifically for active travel. So it can't be spent anywhere else. So that's the reason why we're proposing to implement this scheme. It will provide betterment for walking and cycling, so pedestrians as well. There will be upgrades to the signalised junctions throughout the route, so it will provide betterment and obviously better features for walking, cycling, and for cars as well. So, but it can't be spent elsewhere.
Thank you. We've got another comment that says we need Old No School to allow their students to enter and exit from Talbot Way as opposed to Old No Road, as our road does not have parking spaces and it is getting ridiculous with fines.
I suppose that it's one I can take away and pick up with the school separately. But yeah, the proposal's not intending to make parking worse on Old No Road. So it is just an on-carriageway cycle facility. That's probably all I can say on that one.
Thank you. I'm just checking if we've got any other comments. Somebody's concerned about the fact that we've mentioned that there's no space for segregation as it's basically an urban freeway. Can we really not squeeze space?
As part of the design principles, then here, what we've tried to narrow the lane spaces slightly to sort of allow the generation of extra space whilst maintaining as much of the existing traffic lanes as possible. So yeah, by reducing some of the wider lanes down to still acceptable widths, we hope that twofold effect of slowing some vehicle speeds down whilst also generating space for as much segregation as possible. It is just that in some instances, due to existing street furniture, such as traffic signals, traffic signal poles, etc., it just isn't feasible to have full segregation of the whole route. And where we have got shared use, it is really limited to as little as possible.
Thank you. Are you doing anything to deter illegal U-turns across junctions and through pedestrian crossings? For example, the junction for Deacon's Road, where Azan Khan was killed.
I think that's something we'll pick up as part of the detailed design. So we'll be looking into that. Dan, I don't know if you've got anything else to add.
No, I agree with your response there, Alex.
Thank you.
Someone's saying, thank you for the clarification about Coventry Road. I think it's important to point out that any loss of parking there will inevitably push more cars onto nearby streets, such as Old No Road. Has this displacement been considered, and what measures will be taken to protect parking on these side roads?
So we have kept the parking loss to an absolute minimum where possible. We're not intending to implement any additional parking proposals anywhere as part of this scheme currently. So again, as I say, it is on the main Coventry Road. We lose a few spaces, but we have kept it to an absolute minimum. But it's one of those where we are constrained on space, and we do want to deliver, a good scheme with segregated cycle facilities. The aim of the project is that people will switch away from the car as well, and choose to walk and cycle. So again, we hope that, you know, the offset of losing the parking would, you know, enable people to, you know, think about using a bike or walking for their short journey trips rather than getting in the car and parking up.
Thank you. We have got some clarification on the point that was raised earlier. So it's just at the Swan Island roundabout, could the city-bound slip road not be reduced to a single lane for its entirety, freeing up space for a full bi-directional cycle lane on it?
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that clarification. Yeah, I understand now. Yeah, through there, what the plan is to retain the sort of capacity on that exit to prevent any sort of queuing all the way back by reducing that down to one lane. There's a potential impact then on cars blocking onto Swan Island and therefore causing delay on the roundabout.
Thank you. Has any thought been given to implementing a residence parking scheme for Old Know Road as part of this project?
Not as part of this project, no. So this is for active travel only. So the funding can only be spent on sort of walking and cycling infrastructure. So whilst we have kept parking loss to an absolute minimum, it wouldn't be part of this project, no. Sorry.
Again, on Old Know Road, will cars still be able to double park on the road? At the moment, it's something that has been done because of how limited the parking is. If that's no longer possible, then how will residents manage?
So double parking isn't permitted anywhere. So I would say no. Yeah, this project isn't making that sort of residence parking. It's not changing the availability of space along this route. All we're doing is implementing a shared space at the top of Old Know Road junction to Coventry Road. So we're not actually taking away any spaces. So no is the answer, unfortunately.
How is this project funded?
So it's funded by the Department for Transport through the City Region Sustainable Transport Fund.
Thank you. Okay, I appreciate the confirmation of no segregated cycle lane on Old Know Road. However, how safe is this for the cyclist? The cycle lane on Byron Road has not been utilised to the extent it should have been. Safety must be paramount for cyclists and car users and pedestrians. Old Know Road is very tight with double parking and speeding.
So again, we're going to assess the situation from the traffic counts, but we're not proposing to put a segregated facility because I think that would just add more pressure to this particular road. It is 20 mile per hour. We have introduced a shared area where possible. I don't know, Dan, have you got anything else that you can add to this one?
No, nothing on that one.
Okay, thank you. So we have a couple of comments of people mentioning that some of people aren't able to cycle. It's not practical or due to disabilities. The pavement is quite wide by the church between Talbot Way and Old Know Road. Can this pavement be narrowed to maintain parking spaces on Coventry Road rather than losing spaces?
Yeah, we've explored opportunities to try and retain that parking sort of outside the church, and by narrowing, but essentially to have a segregation and a footway it isn't possible to retain the parking adjacent to it.
Okay. We have a question: has the accessibility impact been considered in this plan? As there are disabled residents on Old No Road who rely on their cars and need nearby parking, especially for people who aren't able to physically switch to cycling.
So again, there's no plans to, because I know there's a number of disabled bays along Old No Road, so there's no plans to remove any of that or remove any parking along that route. It's just offering people another mode of transport to obviously use. So as part of this scheme, we are upgrading a number of pedestrian crossings and we're providing a cycle lane infrastructure as well. So it's just giving people another option to commute in and out of the city. So whilst we're not sort of adding any parking facilities as part of this scheme, we are adding another mode of transportation for people.
Thank you, Alex. The cycle lanes on Byron Road and Bolton Road aren't used enough, yet they are so wide and take up a majority of the road.
So there are minimum widths and guidance that we need to adhere to when introducing a cycle lane. They're part of the LTM 120 guidance note for walking and cycling. So all of our cycleways, we look to work to those guidelines where possible. So we are sort of working to those limits. Dan, have you got anything else to add on that?
No, so yeah, echo your point really that in order to deliver these schemes, there are guidance set out to meet. So that's why, and that's how we design all the cycle infrastructure that you see in Birmingham.
Okay, thank you. Again, somebody is asking, why are we implementing cycle lanes when they're not used in Small Heath and Yardley?
So the reason for introducing the cycle lanes is just to provide another mode of transport for people to access the city centre. So it's cycling and walking. Birmingham have a transport policy which supports active travel. So this is part of that umbrella of schemes that we'd look to deliver, which align with that policy. So it's about sort of adding to the network rather than taking anything away. So we are providing another mode of transport so that people can easily access the city if they don't have a car or if they choose to walk and cycle. It also enables people to switch away from the car as well for short journey trips. So we're just trying to encourage people to choose alternative modes of transport for those journeys.
Thank you. We've just had how is this going to be funded again, which we have mentioned as being from the Department for Transport's City Region Sustainable Transport Settlement programme. Just checking if there's been any more questions. Okay, so somebody wants a bit more clarification on their question. So a cyclist is only safe on a cycle lane. I understand we need to shift to a greener option, but within Small Heath, cycling is not widely practiced. We need cycling classes, free bikes to be made available to get residents on a bike.
Okay, I might have to take that one away, just to see what we're offering in terms of cycle lessons, etc. I know there was in the
Alex,
past.
do you want me to
Oh.
answer that one?
Oh yeah, actually, Jill, yes, please.
Yeah. There are a number of community cycle clubs across the city and a number in the east of the city. So if anybody needs details of these, we can forward contact details. They've got bikes at these clubs, and they also offer learn to ride sessions, and they do lead rides on the infrastructure in the area. So as I say, we can pass on details if necessary.
I can find the link for the various cycle clubs that we do have on the Birmingham City Council website. If I can just get it up, I can put that in the chat.
So I do that, Sophie, while you carry on with the questions.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so it feels like residents on Old No Road haven't been considered in this plan. We will be directly affected by extra cars, parking pressure, and lack of alternatives. It is really frustrating to see decisions being made without properly addressing the impact on the people who live on these roads.
Okay, so I think with this one, as I say, we're not taking away any parking on Oldno Road. I know we are losing a few spaces on Coventry Road. We have kept that to an absolute minimum. What I will do is I will take this away, this comment, as part of the consultation anyway. I'm sure, I think other people have written in similarly about obviously parking on Oldno Road. We aren't taking away the parking, but I suppose once we've got the topographical survey, we will be able to make that assessment on what parking needs to be lost on Coventry Road, etc. And obviously keep that to an absolute minimum. So it's probably a comment that I'll have to take away. We haven't sort of fully decided on this. This is part of the consultation process, so we are actually listening to what people have to say, and going away and having a look at the proposals to see if we can make any tweaks and amendments, to obviously make it beneficial for all, including those who are living on these residential streets, including Old No Road. So hopefully I can give you some assurance that we are listening.
Yeah, I think a bit further added to that post was just who can we speak to? What's the formal process to contest this proposal and make sure that our concerns are properly heard? I think that is probably the Be Heard page. Is that right, Alex?
Yes, that's correct. So on our Birmingham Be Heard webpage, which is the one I'm showing on screen now, it was provided on the leaflet that was dropped to all the properties along the route. So this sort of takes you to the main page here, which sets out what we're doing, why we're doing it. If you scroll down to the very end, there is an online survey just here. So if you click on the link, you're able to then provide some commentary. So there's a series of questions, and then obviously a section where you can fill in your comments. All the comments in the chat will be taken away as well. So as part of this consultation as well, so they'll all be factored in to our review of the consultation, and we'll make amendments where we need to. Thank you.
And Jill has popped the Be Heard page link in the Q&A, and I've pinned it, so the link is there.
Thank you.
Okay, the unfortunate reality is that despite these cycle lanes, I would still be scared to allow a family member to use them, because the real problem is speeding drivers and drivers going on pavements and breaking the rules. We need police cameras and officers, otherwise lives continue to be lost. That's why nobody uses the current cycle lanes.
So obviously as part of this scheme, we are providing a segregated space for cycling and walking, so keeping those away from the carriageway. Obviously, if there are, well, there appears to be some driver behaviour issues. whilst we can report those, we will be working to obviously provide a safe link for cycling and walking. So everything will be at footway level, not at carriageway level. We are providing betterment to the existing traffic signals as well. So again, we would hope that driver behaviour would also be improved as well. I know there are speeding vehicles. There's some work going on in the background to look at the speed limits across the city centre. Coventry Road is one that the team are looking at. So hopefully that will sort of reassure you there that we are obviously designing to the constraints of the existing road, and we will be putting in the best cycle infrastructure we possibly can along that route with the constraints that we currently have.
Thank you. Was any consideration given to putting a projected cycle lane on the A45 from Haybarn Circus to town? The current route is definitely suboptimal, so I understand why they're not seeing the level of usage we'd like them to have.
So I'm assuming that's the Small Heath Highway. So obviously with the bus lanes that have gone in as part of the new bus route along this section of road on the Small Heath Highway, there is again a space constraint there to put cycle infrastructure. We're also trying to attract local residents to walk and cycle as well. So obviously providing the cycle infrastructure on those roads as well provides that linkage from residential streets into and out of the city to trip attractors, so such as the Swan Centre or the city centre.
Thank you, Alex. I think that's the last question. Oh, actually, maybe not. Let me press new posts. Okay, how does the council... Oh, okay, so this is another question about the funding. So why do we have money to put the cycle lanes in, but not using them for other services? I think that one has also been answered about the funding being ring-fenced for active travel schemes specifically. How much time will it take to create this? How long will the roadwork disruption take?
So we're looking to sort of square away all the proposals, see what we need to do in terms of the infrastructure. So we don't have the full programme of works at this moment in time. Looking at it now, it's probably about a year and a half's worth of work, but it would be difficult to put a sort of specific timescale to it without knowing exactly what we're implementing. So this is a concept proposal. So we wouldn't have the full details yet, so I wouldn't want to promise either way on that. But obviously, when we're planning to install the route, we'll keep the disruption to an absolute minimum. There will be traffic management out. There will inevitably be roadworks as part of this proposal. But as I say, we'll keep it to an absolute minimum and it will be done in sections. Okay.
We have a question about the speed limit reduction. So I thought that the reduction of the speed limits above 30 mile per hour down to 30 have been approved by the council. So the A45 should be getting a 30 mile per hour speed limit later this year.
Possibly. It's with another colleague of mine, so I couldn't comment on that, unfortunately.
What I can do, Alex, is I can share the consultation on Be Heard again, which the speed limit order, it was a consultation that took place at the end of last year. So I can put
Could
that in the
you?
chat as well.
Yes. Please. Thank you, Jill.
Okay. We just have another comment on Old No Road being narrow with the cars double parked and traffic coming from both sides. Adding the cycle lane is going to impact, safety levels for everybody. So we've had quite a few comments on Old No Road, haven't we, from the discussions that we've had for this consultation.
Yes, I think we probably need to take that one away and have a look at it. So Dan, if we can, when we've collated the comments, have a look at that particular section.
Absolutely. And also, as the scheme progresses, an independent road safety review will be undertaken on the proposals. So it's a team of experts who are completely independent from the design will assess the safety impacts, not just on Old No Road, but across the whole scheme as well. So I'd like to put people's mind at rest that this safety is paramount for all road users.
I can't see any more questions at the moment. So I think we've gone through all of them.
Brilliant, that's great. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate your time and your feedback and your comments. As I say, any additional comments, if you could provide them through the link on the webpage as well, if you have any additional comments, that would be great.
I will just type in our email address as well, that you can pop any further questions that you might have after this too, and we will get back to you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sophie. And thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.